Mrs. Houston, Mr. Eaton, you both mentioned the Tyson plant fire that occurred last month in your testimony. Given your personal involvement in the cattle market, what are your thoughts about the volatility that followed that fire? And do you think that USDA's investigation into beef pricing margins is an adequate response, or are there other actions that we should be taking?
I do. We immediately after the fire, NCBA certainly went to USDA and asked for their cooperation on a number of different issues. One was flexibility of inspectors if needed in different plants or over hours. We also asked for there to be immediate oversight from both the CFTC and USDA on what happened in the market to be sure that things were happening. So I do believe that Secretary, I have full faith in his investigation, that he's going to use not only the resources of USDA, but possibly outside resources such as Dr. Lusk and other market analysts to find out what's happened. And then we can once we know the facts, there's a lot of emotion right now and a lot of people hurting. I really have faith that this investigation will bring out the facts of what did happen.
Mr. Eaton.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. You know, I think we should wait for the investigation and to see what they come up with, but I think there's some things we can suggest that they look into as well. I know in my personal experience in feeding cattle that there was a lack of transparency issues a few weeks after the fire that negatively influenced the cash trade, and that goes back to the recommendation U.S. Cattlemen's making in regards to the non-native division and mandatory price reporting. I think we shouldn't make these opinions on emotion and look at the facts, but not clearly defining the packer and stockyard definitions for what is a formula contract and what's a cash trade. You know, how do we get more cash trade back into the market? These bonus buys or top sales where a major, for better purpose, corporate feed yard can get $1 over the weighted average, where there's no account for premiums or discounts. It's just $1 and I get all your inventory as a packer. That's been a problem, and that has taken the competitiveness out of the industry.
What's the cash market now represent as a percentage of the total?
15 to 20%. You know, you take Texas, Oklahoma, for instance, you have 4,000 or 5,000 head out of 80,000 a week we trade in the cash. So you just think about that as a business person, where if you have such a small number that can be influenced, that will influence the rest of the cash trade or the formula base price, we need to have all the transparency we can get as producers.
Yeah, agreed.
We need a referee.
You spoke about, and I will tell you that, like you, I was opposed to the repeal of COOL, country of origin labeling, in 2015. You spoke in your testimony about a loophole that's allowed imported cattle or beef to be labeled products of the USA. I'm wondering if you could, what are your recommendations for addressing that loophole?
Yeah, so my loophole isn't about beef, it's about actually reporting of live cattle. And I know it's a little bit confusing if you're not super familiar with it, but mandatory price reporting has two divisions, imported and domestic. The CME does not, in the feeder index, does not include imported feeders in calculating the feeder index, which is the price your ranchers are going to get paid off of. And the live cattle contract does not allow foreign-born fats to be delivered against the contract. As a producer, I have to sign an affidavit attesting to it that they were born and raised in the U.S. So what is happening today, USDA does not report in the domestic trade these imported feeders that come into Nebraska, Texas, wherever, and get fed to slaughter weight. They do not report them separately. So these imported feeders, even though they're not able to be delivered against a contract, are influencing the price for the producers in South Dakota. And I'll tell you, they're influencing it negatively.
All right. And
so that's why we need this new division. It's been a loophole since the inception of mandatory price reporting, and like I told the chairman in 2015, we had several other industry groups wanting to look at this, but we've come with a specific answer on how to fix it.
all right, good. Thank you. We'll take that to heart. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Senator Brown.